In this video, I want to show you how to use a SQLite query result for the data source to a UI collection view or a UI table view. And this is a UI collection view, and all of this data comes directly from a SQL query. It doesn't do any sort of translation to a model, into an array, or anything, which is the traditional way you would provide data to a collection view. It reads data directly from the SQL query, and I'm going to show you how to do that. In order to see how this works, let's go to the NIO Champion Collection View Controller implementation file. And we're going to start with the viewDidLoad method. This method gets called automatically when the view gets displayed or gets loaded. And you'll notice here that I'm calling a method called query champions. And when we look at that, what happens here is I create a command, an instance of the command, and I tell it that I want to query the champion table. I build the projection, which tells the command that I want the champion name, the champion image URL, and the champion ID from, also the title, from the champion table, from the query. And then I want the query sorted in alphabetical order by name. So I run the query, and in my continuation, it returns a promise. In the continuation, on the main thread, I'm responding to that. So down here, I'm looking at the cursor that comes back. A cursor is a glorified array of dictionaries, but it's data that comes directly from the result set from a query. And so if I do have rows, the cursor knows whether or not it has any rows in the result set. If it has rows, then I'm setting my cursor property to the result set that comes back. And I'm reloading the data for the champion collection view. Now that causes the delegate methods to run, which ask for information about the data source. So if we look here, the first thing it's going to do is ask how many items there are in the collection view. And I simply ask the cursor how many rows there are. If I don't have a cursor, then it's 0. And then for each element that's visible, for each cell that's visible, it's going to call the collection view cell for item at index path, and these should be familiar to you if you are familiar with using the collection view. And it will return a collection view cell populated and ready to be displayed. So the cursor knows how to move itself to a position, and I move it to the position to the row asked for in the index path, which is passed to this method. I then start pulling data out of the cursor at the current row that I've positioned to. So I go get the name, and I set the label, the champion name label, to the text. I go get the image URL out of the cursor, which is a full URL pointing to the image, which has previously been cached, and it will make a request, a URL request. This will resolve to the local shared URL cache. This method here is a method that's part of the AF networking library, and it allows images for a UI image view to be resolved in a background thread so that it doesn't tie up your main thread while it's retrieving it. So if it didn't happen to be in the cache, it would resolve it remotely anyway. So I just, when the image is resolved and it passes me the image from AF networking, so if it gets it remotely or from the cache, either way it doesn't matter, I get the image back. I set the image on the image view and set some various border colors, etc., and border width, and then I refresh that display and I return the cell. So it's as simple as that. Run a query, get back a result set, and interrogate the result set. There's no parsing of anything. It reads the result set directly.